Hello and welcome to That Guy's a Mini. I got as far as Maniac. Okay. Yeah. Hello and welcome to That Guy's a Maniac, the podcast. My name is Richie. With me as always is Farley, aka Kunzi11. We are on season 5. And I have nothing more to say about that.
Great.
What is our season 5 theme?
The season 5 theme is
Redux.
Rewind.
You fucking delete this entire start of the podcast.
That's our theme, listeners, readers.
Okay.
You can find us.
No. We're starting again.
.uk. That guy's a maniac. One word, all lowercase.
I should have written an intro. God. I fuck it up even when I have a written intro. Why did I think that I would just work winging it? Like, what is season 5 called?
Don't know. Didn't we come up with a name?
We didn't.
It was just each episode's just gonna be That Guy's a Maniac.
Something or other.
The podcast, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just That Guy's Maniac. We are a podcast about video games.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. Right, that's fine. I think we've got all the information that we need to get out.
Okay.
Yeah. Worst intro ever.
Oh, is it we still going?
Yeah, we are still going.
Okay, right. There we go. That's Guy's a Maniac. The news reviews, previous video games.
The highest quality editing we've had this season as well. Top notch intros. Yeah.
Richie, you have a gimmick for this season. What is that gimmick?
So the gimmick this season is we are playing a game of character, item, level, which is our spin on animal, vegetable, mineral, but with a video games twist.
Okay.
And
also a 20 questions element to
it. Also a 20 questions.
Yeah.
So I feel like when you ask that first question in animal, mineral, vegetable, you're pretty much going into a yes or no scenario.
I don't think that's how it works. Okay,
cool.
Because the answer to that question is not yes or no.
Okay.
Is it?
Well, no, it's after. That's what I said. After you've started the animal, vegetable, mineral, it goes into pretty much a game of 20 questions.
Okay.
Maybe it's not like limited to 20 questions. You know.
Okay.
I'm so glad. Yeah. Okay.
Fine. No one will know. This is the first one we recorded.
Shh. Nobody will know.
No one will know.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So what's our video game themed twist on animal, mineral, vegetable with 20 questions?
It is character, item, level. Okay. So character being a character from a game, an item from a game, or a level as in something from the environment within a game.
Yes. Very clear. Do you have a character, item, or level?
Yes, I do.
Okay, let's play character, item, or level. Character, item, level.
Something catchy, yes.
Are you a character, item, or level?
I am an item.
Item. Item. Are you a weapon?
No.
No weapon. Do you come in boxes?
I can.
You can come in a box.
For the right amount of money, yeah.
Okay. Is it something you can hold? It's a bad question. That's a really bad question.
That's a really bad question, yeah.
Are you a held item?
Define a held item.
An item that you can wield.
No.
No, I don't think that helps me at all, really. Are you a healing item?
Yes.
Ooh. Healing item. Do you restore HP or health?
Yes.
HP or health. Interesting. I'm gonna not narrow down. Maybe I'll get it. Are you a potion?
No.
Are you in the potion family?
No.
Okay. That rules out high potions, hyper potions, super potions, great potions, mega potions.
Exactly.
So you do help with HP and health.
Yeah.
Are you food?
Yes.
Not sure.
I don't think that's an angle you want to pursue. Put it that
Okay.
way. Yes, but don't think about it.
Okay. Are you fruit or veg?
Veg.
Okay. So you are not a held item, can come in a box, healing item, HP or health, not a potion, might be food, and you're veg.
Yeah.
Are you a root vegetable?
No.
Not a root vegetable. Are you a tomato?
No.
Okay. You're not a root vegetable.
No.
What are the non-root vegetables? Are you the cabbage throwing thing from New Zealand Story?
No. You're probably thinking about vegetable in the wrong way. Yes, I am vegetable of the vegetable family. I am vegetation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what vegetable means.
Yes, it is. Going back to the meaning of animal, vegetable, mineral, I was thought you were narrowing it down to that side of things. And you would have answered the same.
Right, okay, you wasted 3 questions.
No, I'm trying to help you with the questions.
You're a vegetable, but not a root vegetable.
Exactly.
And you're not cabbage.
I'm not a cabbage, no.
Are you in a Nintendo game?
No.
Not in any Nintendo game. Insane. Okay.
Okay.
How do you know?
I am on a Nintendo system.
How do you know?
I'm on a Nintendo system.
You're on a Nintendo system.
Yeah.
On a Nintendo system. Vegetable. Non-root vegetable.
Not a Nintendo game, but can be found in a Nintendo system.
Okay. And you're a healing item.
Yeah.
Vegetable. Are you a herb? Are you a green herb?
I fucking am, yes.
Yay!
Well done. Character level item.
Environment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 questions. Boom. Brilliant. So, nothing to do with that. That's just our gimmick. This season we're bringing everything back, aren't we, Richie? Everything.
Absolutely everything back. We are... No, we're not.
We're remembering, we're remastering, we're remixing, we're redubbing, we're...
Yes,
everything.
We are full redux.
Yes.
That Guy's Maniacs redux.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this episode, we are reclassing. Yeah.
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 Or just reclass.
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 It will make sense by the time you're listening to this.
And also if you read the title of the podcast.
Reclass. And so one way we can look at reclass is like RE class.
Because we're funny people, we're already making a spin on our own
That's
title.
Cool. We've got to remix it.
And RE means Religious education.
Yes, and it probably dates us because these days I think that comes under general education or something else.
Social studies.
But yeah, something like that. But back in the day, you used to have, for the elder millennials that we are, you used to have religious education classes at school.
Yeah.
And you'd call them RE classes. So on that, we'll be looking at religion, theology, and video games. Now, Richie, I don't know how much you've thought about religion, theology, and video games.
Yeah.
Have you?
I have a little bit, yeah.
Good. Well, see, now lots of games have religion that runs through them, an essential theme. For example, if you think about classes like monks,
yes,
right? They've got to have some kind of religion going on. And many of them...
In fact, any D&D trope, there's going to be your usual monks, priests, or paladins, which tend to sort of follow some kind of deity in some fashion, or use that deity to heal or do damage in some fashion. And of course, that trope does extend to many other games as well.
Yeah. And so religion, I think, because there's been, in the history of humankind, has been the source of epic events and horrible tragedies. So we find religion through most video games. Not most video games. We find it in video games, but often it's parodied because whenever video games take a dip their toe into real world religions, they tend to get themselves in quite a bit of hot water.
Yeah. Or indeed, the other way around is you do get games companies which are entirely, and this has mostly been from the Christian side of things, to sort of redo games but with a Christian flavour to them. So there was in the 90s there was a big bout of Christian development where they would just sort of rip off other games but make it about Jesus or things like that. Not to try and say that that's a good or a bad thing, but there was definitely that sort of subsection where there was a desire to try and get away from the evils of computer games and maybe inspire people to be a bit more Bible-y.
Yeah. And there's a surprising... you get quite a few kind of games history people working on religious software, which I'm sure is still a thing today, but it was a huge thing in the 90s. So,
yeah.
Video games of stories from religion, mostly from the Bible side of things. But of course, in video games, the themes of deities and gods and difficulties has been tackled.
Yep.
Throughout. Can you think of any good video game gods?
Good ones. They tend to be bad. So, I mean, what I would say is, because, obviously, the reaction of, a lot of these Christian games were because the games were quote-unquote evil. It's because they have borrowed rather heavily from sort of, the satanic side of things. So, we look at Doom. That game, which is, I'm sure, made many of the handbag clutching Christian crowd very angry, or indeed scared, was because it does depict and deal with demons, death, satanic symbols, Baphomet, which is actually the final boss and things like that. So it's actually Satan you're fighting. So without getting too much into did religion influence that, the antithesis of it, yes, entirely. It is very, very heavily sort of Dante's Inferno style, pulled from the depictions of hell that we've seen. And do I mean Dante's Inferno? Did I say Dante's Inferno?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah. So the seven
Divine
cycles of
Comedy.
hell. Yeah, and also like Hieronymus Bosch and things like that, where the demons and depictions of hell and things like that. So like it's a kind of a you can't have one without the other. So depictions of good gods. I suppose you've got rather weirdly in juxtapositionally in Bayonetta, you are fighting angels, but they're very, very evil ass angels. They just happen to be demons wearing white instead.
Those are the cool ones, right? With all the many faces, like
Like
it's supposedly biblically accurate.
Yeah. No, they pulled these straight from the several choirs of angels and the different levels that you get, and yeah, absolutely mental. And it gets quite visceral because as you destroy and sort of remove the white and gold armor that they have, it gets all rather fleshy and demony underneath. So it's a good commentary. What is an angel except from a demon that supposedly does good?
Yeah, I guess I don't remember. There probably was. I don't remember there being any kind of satanic panic, meaning, people worried about symbolism and children and exposure around Bayonetta at all, which perhaps just goes to show how far video games have come since the early days, where rogue pentagrams would cause whatever it is, Mothers of America to write in and condemn things. I mean, there have also been cock-ups with like stock imagery or stock sound effects, which are religious chants, which then have had games recalled and edited and whatnot. But yeah, maybe you couldn't have made Bayonetta before it was made. I don't remember it kicking up much of a fuss.
No, I don't think it did, but I think because of the mainstream media and like we've had depictions of evil in movies for like many years. Just think of like The Omen, and that is like a very good what's the word I'm looking for? A good guide for the games and how they sort of approach the satanic side of things as well. And we've had them, and people just get over it. And now we have, a satanic movie 10 a dozen sort of thing, like for horror movies. In some fashion, the devil is involved. But I guess it was a different medium, and everybody was kicking up a fuss, regardless of video games have got so much judgment because they are a media which is more interactive. That perhaps it is influencing young minds, but we've had the same thing. Books have been called on it, TV's been called on it, movies have been called on it, video games have been called on it. It's just reactionary stuff. Reactionary.
Hey. Now there are some positive depictions or aspects. So, for example, maybe we're not the best series to talk about, but in Castlevania, don't you use a holy cross as like a weapon?
Yeah, you use all of but this is more sort of like the vampire stuff, because you're going up against Dracula, so it's you have holy water. And you are,
of course,
and you're using these things as sort of like what you would do to get rid of Dracula in general. I think, I mean that works. Like it's a very Japanese retelling of the Western Dracula story, but it's I mean you could see Dracula as an agent of Satan himself.
Yes, that's right, Richie. You could see Dracula as an agent of Satan himself. Now, where you do see religion a lot is in fantasy, as you mentioned earlier, with kind of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
leanings or model or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And those all tend to be quite, bit of paganism, bit of Christianity, some bit of like Egyptian influence with the kind of religions. And they're
pulling in voodoo as well is a very, very popular thing. And yeah, well, like as a religion, like people love to bring in a bit of the voodoo, in games.
Yeah.
And voodoo is a religion in its own right as well. Yeah.
Other religions in World of Warcraft, Richie?
Oh God. Yes, there are many religions. There's cults as well. You have priests, paladins. You have druids, shamans.
Who are their gods?
So,
what are their religions?
Weirdly, you can have different races that have different priests, but and they tend to worship different things. So you've got the humans who worship the light, and that's quote unquote the light, and as do the dwarves, but they've got a bit more of a different. They're just learning everything from the humans because they are clay that has been made flesh. This whole thing. But then on the other side of it, you have undead, which also use the light, but you also have the trolls, and they don't necessarily follow the light, but they follow Loas, which are big animal gods.
Okay.
And that's where their source of power. Now, I really like, just for your own sanity, don't deep dive into what the light is, because it gets really, really messed up in World of Warcraft, and the lore gets crazy. We accept it for what it is, but as players, but it's mental. So when you play vanilla World of Warcraft, you're just you're playing through. The light is something that you wield, and you can smite the undead as a paladin, and you can heal people as a priest, and you use the light in that fashion. But when TBC hits, it turns out the light comes from these celestial beings. I forget what they're called, but they just look like floating symbols. And they provide everybody with the light. The Blood Elf Paladins have lost their ability to wield the light, so they actually drain one of these celestial beings and wield the light that way, which is very weird because they keep it in a basement and you can just go visit it, literally go and visit it.
A bit like Evangelion.
Maybe. I don't know the reference.
You should watch it. It's very good.
Okay. And yeah, so in World of Warcraft you've got a list. But yeah, there's also a million different other cults. There's the cult of the damned, which worship the dead. There's dragon cultists. There's Twilight people who worship old gods. And old gods are like, they're madness creating people. And then there's the Titans, which have created and have populated planets. And then you get the celestial beings that control the Titans and stuff like that. It gets very, very deep into its lore, and it's a bit fucky, I'll be honest with you. And I've talked for more time than
it sounds like they've taken one of two approaches. One is that somewhere in Blizzard there's a vault with the official canon which somebody has written.
No.
Or the other bit is they don't really care and just make up whatever bollocks.
It kind of feels like that.
Pile it on top of each other.
They do retroactively sort of bring in things from things like Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
And there definitely is some lore that it follows. I haven't played everything to the nth degree to corroborate this, but it does kind of feel like, especially if you go to later expansions of World of Warcraft, it gets very, very messed up.
Because isn't one of those like core events in the World of Warcraft mythology or whatever? You know, when the orcs come from another planet and that's when they go green. Isn't that tied up with religion? Isn't it some kind of prophecy which tells them that's going to happen?
So they come from a planet called Draenor, which was also occupied by the Draenei. Their planet was victim of an alien invasion of beings that look like demons, which are basically the Draenei, except they have become corrupted. They're called the Eridar. And they control legions. I know.
A horrible fancy generic,
Yeah. But yeah, so these demons, they have, like, they can summon and spawn infernals and pit lords, and there's certain degrees of generals, and there is like an army hierarchy. But basically, their planet was destroyed and war-torn by the Burning Legion. The Burning Legion also use the Scourge as one of their tools.
Uh-huh.
So the Scourge is undead. So their first plan of invasion is they start turning the undead against the living.
Mm-hmm.
And then they send down the demons and things like that to clean everything up. And then the generals come and then they, I don't know, explode a planet or rescue old gods or whatever they want to do. it gets, but yeah. So basically, that happens to Draenor.
Okay.
And the way that these Eridar travel around is through gates.
Uh-huh.
And that is, the Burning Crusade, very famously, is the gate, the dark portal. That's where you go through. And that's what links Draenor to Azeroth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're all coming through. So TBC is all about trying to prevent this as much as possible. And you manage to fight them back. Even though the final patch is where one of them actually corrupts the wells, which are special things which allow people to have magic in life and stuff like that. And then there's dragons as well. Dragons seem to be like defenders of the planet in some fashion. And look, my lore knowledge of this is probably more hefty than other people, but it's nowhere near what it needs to be as well. Like, you're asking me, like, you could go for days talking about this, and even I don't like it. Like, there's just like when I was doing the raids, and I was like, right, okay, so why is that guy there? And then you would read it, and you'd be like, oh, who is this guy? Oh, and so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Religion tends to. I'm going to stop with World of Warcraft. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
But religion also tends to. It tends to fuel a lot of characters' powers,
mm-hmm.
in some fashion. So the idea of like using the light to heal someone, or using some kind of deity that they believe in to pray and heal and all that sort of stuff. It does seem to be a reoccurring thing, because you do get, like, even in Japanese RPGs, you do get like priests in there, And they do differ from typical like magic dealers as well. Do you reckon they're pulling from D&D lores or something like
that? I don't know. I don't know. Or because across Japan, they kind of have lots of different beliefs, but they aren't really strict beliefs. It's kind of like partly ritual rather than religious fervor. So there'll be shrines and spirits and oni and a whole plethora of things. So in which case, I think that's where your kind of JRPG type priest or monk perhaps comes into it. I was thinking because the other connotations that come with religion, as you've already mentioned, are things like cults or zealots, and there's certainly a lot of games which play with that. So thinking about the Las Plagas in Resident Evil 4.
Yes, exact. Very good point. Yeah.
Basically, is these people have been brainwashed, but not in a religion kind of way, through a virus. But you've got the Yom Shivayam, Yom Shivayam. Do they say that in Resident Evil 4? The remake.
Yeah, it's word for word, almost identical.
Good.
The only difference is like a couple of the boss fights and stuff like that. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of in there, and the idea of, I think almost like, religious expansions and missionaries, right? So.
Yeah, everybody likes a zealot. Everyone likes playing a.
Well, the place you can get to people is through community, and it's through kind of church, and it's through beneficence, and all of this business. One of my favorite kind of in-game religions, I think, it's not a nice one, is unitology in Dead Space.
Okay, unitology. What's that?
Unitology. So, as you may or may not know, in all of Dead Space is based on the discovery of these things called there's kind of like these monoliths, which get called kind of units, I think. And there's a religion that forms, like as soon as they're discovered, there's kind of a religion that forms around them, and as people go insane because they get close to the monolith, they start speaking in tongues, they start doing all the kind of things which are associated with over devotion or zealousy. But in the Dead Space canon, it becomes this huge part. It's the kind of the unitological church, and then the rediscovery of these monoliths, which also create these monsters, but then also the monsters are afraid of it. And yeah, it's just a really cool part of the canon, because I think, as we've seen with recent nonsense in the way that people behave in the age of mass communication, unlike in the past, where you would assume that people will be pro people, these days there are people who worship or give themselves over to but it's a bit like is it Independence Day, where you've got the people who are on the tops of the buildings with the signage, or is it Cloverfield, or maybe both of them, wanting to be the first ones to be abducted or whatever. And in Dead Space you have this unitologists which make the case for these monoliths, and yields kind of great influence as well as kind of subterfuge. So I really like it, because that human converted element becomes a really, really big part of that story and of that universe.
I dig that. I dig that. That's a good sort of high sci-fi storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it could just be, there's this shit that we find in the ground and it makes someone go evil, right? Which,
oh no, they're from another planet and they're demons and they use undead people,
which is essentially part of it. But it has a much more of a kind of human sociology.
Right, you know what? I'm going to stop you right there.
Hey!
It's our new middle of the podcast.
It's intermission.
It's time to hit that typewriter. No.
Hey, guys.
We are going to take a little break. We're going to head to the pub. We're going to have a little chat, and
no, it's not us heading to the pub, is it?
It is, yeah.
We'll see you after the intermission.
Yeah, after the intermission time.
No, it's the intermission, and we're in a pub for some reason.
We're at the bar.
So the other day there.
Yeah, what were you up to?
Well, I've been doing my my seed exams.
Your what exams?
My seed exams.
Oh, the seed exams. Right, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Becoming a seed soldier? Mercenary? What are they called? I don't know. Anyway.
Keep character.
And, well, you know how the Gabaldians have taken over Dolit?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was inevitable, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, because when a deer ascended, they wanted a broadcasting tower, right, to tell everyone that, hey, a deer has ascended.
I mean, as you do.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Gabaldians they took over Dolit and they started, broadcasting about a deer, and it just so happened to be my seed exam day.
Oh no, man! Like on the day you were doing your seed exam.
Yeah.
There was straight up.
Here's your exam. Yeah, I was doing some revision. I said, actually, here's your mission. We're going to Dolit.
Isn't it always the fucking way? Inconsiderate cunts.
I know. And a bit, I don't know how much tuition I'm paying, but I could have died.
Yeah, I mean, like death aside, because we know that that's just a phoenix down away. But that it's just it's the disrespect of choosing a seed exam to do that. Like, that is not cool.
No, I mean, we're just students, and here we are, shutting down the propaganda machine of the Gabaldian forces at the rise of their sorceress.
Yeah.
So,
I'm raging for you, man. I'm raging.
Well, so I've got with these two classmates, right? One of them's an annoying woman.
Is she your classmate or your teacher?
No, she's my classmate. She's got flicky out hair.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, her.
And then there's another bloke. He just punches things.
Oh God, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, you're not like he's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I know the type. I know the type, man.
Because you can. Are you going to go for the whips? Are you going to go for the nunchucks? Gun blades, good,
No, just a straight up punch.
Ring, frisbee, shotgun. No, there's always some asshole gonna want to punch behemoths in the face.
Yeah, and also like you're just not gonna waste your GFs linking on him, are you?
Exactly. So I'm in my seed assault boat. To the left of me is this annoying woman with the flicking out hair. On the right of me is Punch Boy. Needless to say, we do shut down the broadcast tower on Dolit. But then you'll never guess what happens.
But oh my God! Like, so you actually shut down the tower?
Oh yeah.
You still get your seed right? So tell me what happens.
Well, so we go there and we shut it down. I think, well, this is I'll be in the pub as a seed graduate in the shake of the second, the leaf, whatever the expression is.
Shake a dog's tail.
Some Gabaldian has only set an XATM 092 on us.
Oh, what are they again?
You know the big spider robots?
Ah, the spider robots.
Yeah. So here I am.
XAMs02s. Yeah.
Thinking I've graduated. Yeah. Then we have to run down the hill. It's chasing us all the time. And then we're running away. If we can get to the beach, the seed gunboats have got the machine guns on, so it could probably take out this spider robot. If we just get to the beach, then, I could be graduated. Boom, I'm a graduate. And then I can start doing some freelance mercenary work.
Happy days.
And then on the bridge, what do I see?
What do you see? Come on. Just lay it on me, man. Just lay it on me. This is an epic day already.
Anyway.
You just want to get your seat, you know.
Yeah. Punch boys, he's punched, she's nunchucked. There's a fucking dog.
A fucking dog.
On the bridge.
What did you do?
Well, I talked to the fucking dog, didn't I?
All right, I think those guys are going to start talking again. So let's wrap this one up.
Anyway, yeah, I'm a seed graduate now.
Okay.
Da 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 da.
Oh gosh. Okay. Right.
The other way reclass can be interpreted, Richie.
Yeah.
In a video games related context, is when you change your class in a video game.
So it's almost like reclassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad we talked so much about classes and the religious part of our. Yeah. Okay.
So, what do you think? Reclassing, should it be allowed or should it be banned?
Oh, it should definitely be allowed. I think it's a great mechanic, and it exists in different forms. So I think most recently I was thinking about when it comes to reclassing and straight into the D&D tropes is Baldur's Gate 3. You have the ability at any point just to say, I'm going to make this character another thing. So you have your cookie cutter characters you can choose, who, if you don't choose, will just join you on an adventure anyway. And you can just sort of reclass them entirely. And also your own character as well. They put in a character called Withers, who's this sort of like undead guy, and you just talk to him and you just choose a new class. I find it very hard to do that in Baldur's Gate 3.
I find it hard to do in any game.
Because, I spent forever. I spent, nearly 8 hours on the character creator alone, trying to decide what I wanted to be. And then, don't get me wrong, there are times when I think, do you know what? I should have just been a fighter, or I kind of wish I'd been a paladin. It's kind of like a bard, the same level of charisma, but you can actually hit and heal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was like, I could make my character suddenly a paladin. Feels weird. I can't mechanically make that lore work in my head.
I think that's the issue I have
and Withers, as much as they've added him in as the lore for it, it feels cheap. Do you know what I mean?
Particularly because in a proper class system, which we can examine later, you incrementally get there, be it like a branching tree where you have to get this prerequisite to get this prerequisite. So it's taking you if you're reclassing when you're quite a far way in, it's taking you a long time to get there, and it has this perverse idea that you've earned it.
Yeah.
Whereas even though you've earned it on that branch, by kind of undoing it all and then I'm gonna be whatever healing cleric type thing, you can then just all of a sudden instant glut, take yourself down to 0 and then take yourself back up to a level 8, whatever.
Yeah.
Instantly. And then so what is your character doing in that second when they're reclassing? Just is it like the training discs in the Matrix?
Yeah, lore wise, it just doesn't work in my head. And
what are you on about? I've always been religious. Yeah, did I not talk about my God all the time? Yeah, that's where I get my healing powers from. Surprised it hasn't come up in the last 30 hours we've spent with each other. Big God guy, me. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just, it feels weird. There are other ways to approach it, which I like, which is rather than being classes, it's the jobs system.
Yes, and even though I have an issue in, I don't know. For some things it makes sense. So in games where if you use something, you you gain proficiency. Like, that kind of works if you're talking about shooting a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Keep shooting a bow and arrow, and hopefully you'll get better.
Yeah, you gain skill ups. Yeah.
Yeah, and then for other things, it doesn't quite work like that. I don't think. I can't think of an example now.
Like, you've healed this person really hard. Get a skill up in healing.
You can heal better, yeah. Or you've done loads of really small fireballs, and now you can do a big fireball.
Yeah, you could do a fireball level 2. Yep.
Yeah. Or you've read loads of books, and now you can read really well.
Yeah. You have killed enough boars. Now you can go to someone, and they will teach you how to set fire to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for some things, I think it works.
Using some currency in game.
But I do like that in principle, that if you want to do something, but typically, and again, maybe this is why I like it, it's also really slow, right? If you think about the kind of in Final Fantasies, really, really slow. You're like a level 3 whatever until you actually get something which is specific to that job.
Yeah.
And then if you change, that's it. Back down to nothing.
Yeah, but you might as well just re-roll an alt or something like that. That's what I was going to go back to, like Baldur's Gate with. Like, I wouldn't want to do. I wouldn't want to switch my character. I would rather dabble with playing another class from scratch.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't be the same person. It would be like somebody who was maybe approaching the game differently and trying to role play that aspect. Whereas, yeah, and it just takes you out of it. This like that whole no, I'm down to blah blah blah. Anyway, sorry, we were talking about job system. Probably one of my favorites is going to be Final Fantasy X-2, and you're just constantly reclassing your characters, so you can be a singer, support person, or you can be a mage, or like, isn't there like 3 different types of mages?
Yeah, I think
red mage, black mage, and I think that's also the system for Final Fantasy Online as well. You're not held to one specific role. You don't start your character. You don't choose, hey, I'm going to be a mage. You choose your character, and then the jobs sort of floating around it. And I don't know the system because I can't log in, but that's a different story.
So in one of the systems that I like is the Fire Emblem one.
Okay, tell me about that.
So it is kind of like a job system, but the whole kind of game is loosely based on like the combat mechanics, based on a rock paper scissors type thing.
Okay,
it's like swords, axes, and lances, I think. But then flying characters are weak to crossbows or whatever. So there's a bunch of type weaknesses. And so when you start off, when you first acquire these characters, because normally you're bumping into them and recruiting them, either part of the story or through options, is there'll be like a knight or whatever. And then once you get your sword proficiency to a certain level, or something else, again by using your bow and arrow, then you can kind of level up. But each of those, this is this big kind of flow chart. So then if you get your mounting skills up, you could choose to either be like, okay, you get to a certain point where you could be a mounted knight, but if your magic skills are quite high, you could also be a mounted mage.
Yeah.
But then if your riding's really high and you're a lance, then you can become a Pegasus. Or if you're and so it's quite a good system because you can with a lot of playing around, and then that becomes the kind of meta strategy in your battle is, okay, I need to win this battle, and the story's whatever, we have to get through this building, but at the same time I've got this guy who I really want to change class, so I'm going to give him his spear, and he's going to be really shit at spear because he's a mage or a swordsman or whatever. But if I, severely weaken a unit and then shitty spear guy comes in and finishes things off with his crappy spear, over time he'll get better and better, and then eventually I can class him to where I want him to end.
Yeah, I suppose it's no different than just reusing or trying to get your Zubat experience so that you can finally learn an actual attacking and move other than supersonic.
Yes, yeah. In Fire Emblem, it's slightly more annoying because on kind of your normal modes, there's permadeath, so there's a real risk to the risk reward side of things, because if you send in your shitty spear skills man and he gets killed, then he's gone forever.
Oh, right, okay.
So there's been plenty of times, and normally each game has like a really crappy character who's really hard to, like in one of them, I think it's Fire Emblem, the one with Chrom or whatever. It's basically this like farm boy with a saucepan on his head. So if you can get him through enough battles and enough experience and kind of partnering him up with other people, doing joint moves, he becomes one of the strongest units in the game. But it takes, it's like the Magikarp to Gyarados type.
Yeah.
So I like that system in general, but I think where they perfected it was in Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is the one basically based in Hogwarts. Because in order to do that, you have to have your prerequisite skills. To say you're trying to get somebody to be like a mounted knight, you've got their lance skills up or whatever, and you've got their horse skills up, and then you can take an exam.
Oh, of course.
To change your class. But the lower your kind of ranks are, the lower the percentages. So you kind of chance it with, C horse and C grade in your horse and C grade in your spear. It's got like a 20% chance, and you have to burn there's a certain item you get, or if those are much higher, then it edges towards 100%. That's cool.
Oh, yeah, that does sound quite cool. There's a thing in the latest sort of release of World of Warcraft as well. So when you choose your character, you also get to choose a subclass as well. So like if you choose to be a warlock, you've got the option to be affliction, which is like doing damage over time. You get the option of being a demonologist, which is more dealing with your demon doing damage. Or you have destruction, which is all about setting fire to things and doing spells, magey stuff. And I think in the latest expansion they're putting in another level of class in there as well. So you've got like little hero types that you can be that are sort of in between each type.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not the thing, but like it's they're just sort of like expanding upon that and sort of allowing the classes to be a bit more flexible and change and a little bit of flavour, which is quite nice. But yeah, but you're tied to, you can't switch, you can't reclass. Although you can switch at any point your spec in class, different things. That's a big exhale.
Who cares? What is the difference?
Well, let's take an example from your Fire Emblem. It's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
I think I'm struggling to do this. So you've got your Lancer dude.
Yeah.
But let's say he could be a Lancer that specializes in horses, or a Lancer that specializes in being a ground troop, or a Lancer that's able to be an air unit.
Yeah.
So those are 3 different specializations. Switching between them, is there a difference between the class and the specialization?
I think it depends how the game is set up, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think
it's just a term. I'm getting too bogged down in terminology. Yeah,
but is
absolutely.
it's a bit like Pokemon, for example, which definitely don't have classes.
No, but you could have like a healing.
Yeah. Or a sweeper,
Sylveon.
or a
Yeah.
tank, or a wall. Yeah, which I think's perhaps more kind of
I think
specky
that's
than
more specky.
classy.
Yeah. No, I think you're right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, I'm so glad we've defined that. That nonsense. We never talked about Final Fantasy X-2 more. I really like because you're not actually tied to it just because you're wearing a different dress, therefore you do different things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good way of doing it. It allows that bullshit to be the lower excuse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and although I think there is something to be said for, investing in a certain role, and particularly in, MMORPGs
Yeah.
where if you can be bad at a role or good at a role. Also, what do you call them, MOBAs as well. If one of your there are a fixed number of kind of roles that people should play in a team, and if you have a particularly bad one, then it can affect the whole team, for example. Um, Ultimately, I think people shouldn't be punished for, having to, in most cases, make a blind choice, right? Pick this or this right at the beginning of the game. You don't really know where it's going to go. Sometimes you can't see the whole. Here's the rest of the tree. It's a bit brutal to not let people, um, undo those mistakes, I think. But this is what I was talking about earlier with the idea of a proper class system. Is I hate the trope in a lot of kind of action games with RPG elements where you have like a skill grid, um, but it's just a case of filling it out. Or worse, those ones where
Yeah.
if you do the whole game, you are 3 points short of filling out the whole tree. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it doesn't matter. And then
So I'm thinking
they release the
Final.
DLC, and then you get the last three.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're just like, well, I'm ultimately going to get all of them. You're just restricting me artificially before I
Yeah.
get there.
So I suppose a good way to look at that is the sphere grid in Final Fantasy X as well.
Oh yeah,
That's a mess because you can like everybody is on the same sphere grid, and you can mess up and say, "Hey, I'm going to go down this way, and I'm going to make Tidus all about casting spells," and then suddenly you have Lulu. It's Lulu, isn't it?
yeah, it's Lily. Yeah.
Yeah, who's a black mage, and she goes down all of those paths, and she's really really good at it. And then you just end up with a shit mage as your main character,
Yeah,
casting exactly the same spells.
just worse,
Yeah,
worse. The same's kind of true with Final Fantasy VII Remake. In that you kind of have a sphere system, but it's in your weapons.
yeah, but you can reset that at any point.
You can reset at any point, but also it's like some of these are objectively better. I mean, maybe there is a weird, loophole where if you max out your luck on every weapon before you give yourself like extra slots or extra HP, which to me always seems like the most obvious choice. Then you can do something. But it's like don't do this to give me illusion of choice when actually there's some clearly better things to choose.
Very, very, very clearly better ones. No, I
Yeah.
know exactly what you mean because I was looking at it thinking, I'm annoyed that you've given me 3 different ways to increase my attack or crit, and I just don't have enough points for it. It's just like, why have you given me access to another sphere grid when all I need to do is increase the amount of attack that I'm doing? Yeah, but like I was talking to someone recently, and they were talking about oh yeah, Barrett's my healer. And like, yeah, I remember Barrett would always be my healer in what's it called, Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
And it makes sense because he has all of this stuff to be tanky, and his damage is shit. It's just, I think the illusion that everybody has, like, all right, he's got a gun in his arm, he's going to be a shooty range bad man.
Yeah.
Like, well, no, make him tanky as hell and get him healing your entire group, because he's got the biggest amount of HP and defense. It just makes sense, especially since everybody's just tanking. There's no such thing as tanking in Final Fantasy at all. It's like the moment you switch your character, the enemies seem to know that somebody else has got control. It's like, oh no, I'm going to go attack this person. It's like,
cheating computer.
It is cheating computer. It really is. It's just like, right, okay, Cloud's got these guys.
I'll just go and hide over in Tifa for a bit because I'm getting fucking smashed over.
Well, a very good example of it is like you've got Cloud and Aerith for a big chunk of like 2 or 3 chapters. So you've got Cloud, face tanking people, whereas she's ranged. So it's kind of like, right, okay, let's get Cloud, get a bit of aggro going.
Yeah,
I'll switch to Aerith afterwards, and I'll fire some spells at them.
Yeah.
But it's just like the moment you click switch, it's just like they all fly away from Cloud. And because you've left them on...
They're not even moving their feet on their bases. They just do that like instant 45-degree switch.
And because you've left Cloud on the Punisher mode, he's just like slowly...
very slowly dragging his...
Sludgily, like pyramid head. And whereas, like, your plan is what should happen. It's just like, right, I'm switching it. Now I've got the ranged attack. But, but no. Cheaty fucking computer. Ugh.
Well...
Okay. I think we should bring this disaster of a podcast to an end.
Yes, there's just one non-question to ask, Richie.
Okay.
That guy's a maniac?
Why'd he bite me?
Yeah!